So Richard, why should schools and colleges be concerned about their environmental impact?
Because as a group, they have an enormous impact on the environment. On the average day, there are 12 million people in the UK engaged in some way in education. And their estate is enormous. As a proportion of office-based businesses, it's actually the largest business in terms of office space. They also, because of the amount of land they have, they all have grounds. Some of them have quite extensive grounds. So the land that they control is equivalent, I'm told, to the area of the Isle of Wight. So very substantial. The number of impacts from the education sector, they are waste, they're hazardous wastes, they're oil, they come from oil storage. If you've got a lawnmower, you've got oil and petrol and that sort of stuff stored. You've got pesticides for the land, you've got cleaning agents, bleaches and so on. And then you've got food waste if you have canteens. So there's a great many different ways they impact on the environment.
And not all about the carbon emissions?
No, not all about carbon emissions. I mean, some of them are simple things like packaging waste. What do you do with your used fluorescent tubes, your tyres, all kinds of things that may be involved, chemicals as well from laboratories.
And what support and advice is available to them?
Well, the EAUC, the Environmental Association of Universities and Colleges, did a lot of work starting about 10 years ago on trying to focus on environmental sustainability and environmental responsibility. And they came to us a few years ago and said, look, how about incorporating this into NetRegs? NetRegs is a site which is designed specifically for the smaller businesses or those that aren't permitted, don't require a permit from the Environment Agency to carry on their activities. And NetRegs didn't cover, up to that time, the education sector, but we wanted to because of the size of it. And we now have dedicated advice for the sector. It's tailored to schools, colleges, universities, and I think businesses, sort of all training establishments will find that very helpful.
Okay, and how proactive do you find educational facilities in addressing these issues so far?
They're doing pretty well. As I say, over the last 10 years, they've improved a lot, partly under the impetus of the EAUC. Some of them have developed a lot of expertise. There are currently, for instance, 15 universities cooperating with the Carbon Trust on carbon reduction initiatives. So a lot of them have got a lot of knowledge already, but most of them, the smaller businesses, the smaller schools and colleges, have probably little idea. They're mostly recycling, but they need to know exactly what they should be covering. And NetRegs gives them that. It gives them both what they have to do by the law, the mandatory requirements, and it tells them about good practice, other things they ought to be thinking about, many of which are little or no cost.
And is it 100% web-based, or do people come and browse your website and then get in touch with an advisor of some sort?
NetRegs itself is entirely web-based. Yes, it's just a website, because that was the best way we could get out to the largest number of these smaller businesses. However, we do link throughout NetRegs. We link to the best guidance and advice available. So we will have links to publications which may be produced by EnviroWise, by the Environment Agency, by the Scottish Environment Protection Agency or the Northern Ireland Environment Agency, because it covers the whole of the UK, which is very important. And a lot of these other organisations have either websites or publications which will add further detail. We don't necessarily go right down to the nth degree on NetRegs. If there's better advice somewhere else, the Energy Saving Trust, Carbon Trust, something like that, we will point to those. So you will get to the best sources by going through NetRegs.
You mentioned some of the work that universities are doing to reduce their carbon footprint. With the CRC coming in, is that a game changer?
It will change for some. It tends to be the larger businesses that are going to be involved in, the larger institutions that are going to be affected by that. Basically, you're going to be affected if you have at least 1.5 hour meter on your site. Most of the small schools and colleges won't be affected at all. But we have already good guidance on that on the Netregs site. So if you go and type in CRC to the search engine, you'll find it there.
Okay, and the first step's often the hardest. It can seem quite daunting if you've got all of this in front of you. If a school or college were to do one thing to tackle its environmental impact, where should they start?
Waste. Without a doubt, waste is the biggest problem. There's a great deal they can do, and we have on the website some very good tools which will help them to deal with waste. In particular, we have a thing called the Waste Directory, which has developed quite a bit over the last few years. It's a postcode generated search tool. You can go in, type in your postcode, pick out the wastes you've got, and there's a choice of about 70 of them in groups, so it's quite easy to pick out the ones you've got. You might have paper, cardboard, cans, food waste, those sort of things. Pick out the ones you've got, and it will show you on a little map or in a table exactly what facilities are available in your area. Prioritising on the recycling ones, because of course we want to encourage people to recycle their waste if they can, but if those don't suit, then it will tell them where they can dispose of it. And it will also tell them all the details of the business, and it will tell them whether they collect. And the key thing about this search tool is that the Waste Directory is checked every 6 months against the Environment Agency's database of which businesses are actually currently licensed. So you won't be going to Acme Waste Disposal, which has never got itself a license, because of course that would be a great danger if you go to somebody who isn't licensed. That waste remains your responsibility until it's actually finally disposed of, unless you know that the waste carrier is licensed. The easy way to do this is to nominate one member of your staff to be, and usually there's somebody who's keen to undertake this sort of thing. And because Netregs is simply structured, it's quite easy to understand how to get into the bits you want to. You can find out what you need to do in just a few minutes.
How easy is it to access this information then, and is it time consuming?
Very easy to access. The Netregs site is free. You don't have to register. You can register if you want to get monthly email updates, just one email a month telling you what legislation has changed that might affect your business. And because it's on a website, it's regularly updated. We update it on almost a daily basis, so it's constantly up to date. So it's very easy to get hold of. It's written in plain English. We spend a great deal of time making sure that we take out all the acronyms, we take out the abbreviations. We don't assume that those reading it are environmental experts.